All right. Hello, Dom. I'll go ahead and start this week's news. I have some news from MIT, some news, MIT research actually, and what they're doing for both large language models and smaller language models. Some news on how AI is being applied, both good and bad, which is what I try to share its applications, as well as some updates to the regulations that I have been talking about. So I'm going to start with the MIT articles. This first one is just talking about how MIT researchers are making language models scalable and self-learners. So this is one of the first instances that's people are, or that there is research that's coming out and is more favorable for smaller language models. And I know I have brought that up, that even the founder and CEO of ChatGPT and OpenAI, Sam, has said that the era of large language models is probably dead, and we will see smaller language models. And so I will continue to share information about smaller language models that are continuing to come to the forefront, and that is what MIT is researching and talking about here. And so actually, I like this quote. Socrates once said, "It's not the size of the thing, but the quality that truly matters, for it is in the nature of substance, not its volume, that true value is found." I love that. And so in this article, they are talking about how it doesn't necessarily have to be a large language model, and that researchers are, a team of MIT Computer Science and Artificial Intelligence Laboratory, the CSAIL researchers, think smaller models shouldn't be overlooked. And so what they are doing is they're looking at an approach to the long-standing problem of inefficiency and privacy associated with big text AI models, and that they have a language model that outperforms 500 times bigger counterparts on language and understanding without human-generated annotations, while preserving privacy, robustness, and with high performance. And so human-generated annotations is actually humans checking, like fact-checking and tagging different information that's being fed to the AI. And so the way they're doing that, I won't go into the science behind it. If anyone is interested, it is on MIT's website, but I will say that it's using something called the entailment model, which is, it takes one task and says if the premise is true, then the hypothesis is likely to be true. And again, I'm not going to go into the logic or the science behind that, but essentially what it is doing is it's learning how to choose an answer based on the information around it, and using contextual awareness instead of just being fed the answers. It's able to be more self-referential in what it's taking in. And so again, if anybody is interested, you can find that on their website, but I will always continue to bring up uses of smaller language models, because I do think that they're more affordable, and we're going to see more and more of these continue to come up, not just, with MIT, Yale, Harvard working on these, but as people are able to create their own smaller language models, then we will be able to see them being trained to do a variety of different things. And then another article from MIT is that it's called probabilistic AI that knows how well it's working. It's more important than ever for artificial intelligence to estimate how accurately it is explaining data. And again, this is on their website. And it also goes into how they're approaching research in the in AI right now and how they're looking at ways of making AI more self-sufficient, more self-aware, and more able to call upon itself and its own data instead of just being fed over and over and over more and more information. And so I'm going to take a minute and just very quickly explain that with a large language model, the reason why it's called a large language model is because if you imagine giving if you're imagine a scanner and you scan 100 documents, 1,000 documents, 1,000,000 documents, 1,000,000,000 documents, if you just scan over and over and over, and this AI system then retains that information and can scan the document like a very smart word search, then that is the difference between something like a large language model versus people who are creating these smaller language models and trying to figure out a way for them to be smarter and use less information, but be able to understand it better. So instead of it just searching for keywords, it's creating its own analyses. And so in this, going back to this article, this particular project that they're working on is based on an algorithm, a mathematical approach called sequential Monte Carlo, which has been used for a wide variety of probabilistic tasks. But this is being paired with, where is it called? This sequential Monte Carlo is paired with probabilistic program proposals. And so it's making, which again, I'm not going to go into how that works, and you can read more into that, but essentially it makes it possible to use smarter ways of guessing probable explanations of data to update those proposed explanations in light of new information and estimate the quality of explanations that were proposed. So essentially, it's saying that it's figuring out a strategy for intelligent guessing. And then, let's see if I can find it. So I think it was in this one, they are actually using the information that it's gleaning, they're using that information to then train itself. So if, for example, it's guesses or surmises that 1 + 1 = 2, instead of it being fed, yes, this fact is 1 + 1 = 2, it uses that fact and then trains itself. That's what self-training is, and says, okay, 1 + 1, I have guessed that 1 + 1 = 2, and based on the information that is around it, because it's the answer 2 is being used later on in this document, then I can say for certain that 1 + 1 = 2, and then it gives itself that fact. It learns, okay, 1 + 1 is 2. So you're seeing AI teach itself instead of having to have humans teach it. And there's a lot of great to that. And there's also a lot of danger to that, because it could teach itself if you feed it an article and that has a lot of bias in it, or a lot of opinion as opposed to fact, then it could create a fact that just perpetuates bias, perpetuates racism, which, is something that we're seeing a lot of, perpetuates really bad stereotypes, whatever the case may be. If it's self-learning and it's, saying, okay, this fact plus this fact equals this, and I see that fact later on, and it learns, and that is a harmful fact, that is the downside of these AIs doing self-training. And so we have not gotten certainly to the point where they can be trusted to completely train themselves. But that is the benefit of working smaller language models and having them train themselves as opposed to larger language models. So very exciting to see some movement in that area, and I'll just continue to watch where that research and development goes, and how you are able to train smaller and smaller models. And then the next article is from CNN Business. And this is just a very quick update to, as I have discussed in the past few weeks, that yes, regulations are happening. It's not just a hypothetical. It's not a, well, we're going to get there, but it's probably going to be a few years. Let's see. The Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer announced a broad, open-ended plan for regulating artificial intelligence on Wednesday, which was last week, describing AI as an unprecedented challenge for Congress that effectively has policymakers starting from scratch. And so, interestingly, we will see what happens. I am not going to agree or disagree with this statement, but I do think it's interesting that he says, if we put this together in a very serious way, I think the rest of the world will follow, and we can set the direction for how we ought to go in AI, because I don't think any of the existing proposals have captured that imagination. And that's based on, it says, reflecting on other recent proposals, such as the European Union's draft, or just in general, how Europe is handling AI. And so it's a very bold statement to make. It's a very American statement to make, to say that if we, get our little ducks in a row, or we figure this out, then everybody else will do the same.
Very similar to Elon Musk, right? If I don't know, then how can any other people can do it, right? And also,
yes. So we are going to get our things together, and we're going to do this, and you're welcome, rest of the world.
and I remember Sam Altman do things together with Chinese people, and how about them? Are we going to
absolutely
are they collaborate together, or they just do the separate things? Oh, I think you mute yourself or something.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, I can hear you now.
Okay. There's nothing official that he has agreed to partner with any particular state, country, civilization, but it has been super well documented that he has traveled literally across the globe talking to all of these different world leaders. And the specifics of what he's said are not necessarily released, but the the nature of the conversations have either been, yes, this is a real thing, yes, it is as big as you think it is, and yes, you need to take it seriously, and yes, you probably should put some regulation around it, like that, coupled with he has also been, I think, encouraging different people in different parts of the world to step up and either work on a particular aspect of something, or like do something to help get them on board, not necessarily that they should develop their own thing, but like everybody can play a part in this like bigger picture of AI. But no, from what I have read, and things change by the second. So like, let's not quote us on here, but so far, no countries have signed any exclusivity pacts with Sam Altman. But yeah, so this regulation will hopefully be moving forward. So another thing that I do really like is that he says in his remarks that he appears to acknowledge the criticism of his base, and says that, I know many of you have spent months calling on us to act. And he said, I hear you loud and clear. But as he described, AI is a novel issue for which Congress lacks a guide. And so, that this particular podcast is not like the one thing that has made a difference, but I am so glad that for all of the conversations that everybody continues to have, our conversations here, the conversations that, you as listeners are having after you listen in, from the other podcasters and everybody who is testing these and building these, that every single person just relentlessly has said something has to happen. And I'm glad to know that within 6 months we as the collective royal we have been able to really make sure that our fears are legitimized, and fears being both a good thing and a bad thing, and that there is something that will be happening sooner rather than later. So just standing ovation to everybody who continues to say that regulations need to happen.
So there is no plan. It's just like hey, we need to. It's more like a patriotic politician types of saying, like
so
a American movie.
They didn't release anything specifically, which from everything that I've read about what is being discussed, this right here, it falls, that says innovation first, but with security, accountability, democratic foundations, and explainability. And so this is what has been consistently talked about with everybody else who's discussing what the regulations could potentially be. But he does say, let me see if I can find it here. He was clear on one point, and he says, we do need to require companies to develop a system where in simple and understandable terms, users can understand why the system produced a particular answer and where the answer came from. So though nobody has committed to saying how that's going to happen, the fact that this is the one thing that is,
more
in the article, this is what, yes, no matter what effectively, it's like, no matter what you're hearing about regulations or not regulations, this one point is the point that we can all agree needs to happen, and we're going to be working on that. So it'll be interesting to see how the large language models handle this with smaller language models. A lot easier than with those large language models. And I can't remember if we had talked about this before, about the potential for the way that all of these AIs were trained, that it could be the largest data theft in history, and that it may be that going forward, with models that are built, they have to have these they will operate within the guidelines of the regulations. And so they will be built specifically so that you can see where these answers are coming from. But depending on how things go, it may be that for the models that are already in place, they're like grandfathered in, and they wouldn't necessarily have to show that. We will see. We will see if that happens. I know that it could definitely go either way, and people are really afraid of that, because no matter what the regulations come about in the future, everything is based on the models that we're using right now. And if those don't have to have any accountability, that would be absolutely terrible for the billions of people who will never be cited for all of the work that they did. But then, like, they paved the way for all of their future work to be cited. We will see what happens. But I'm definitely, and my fingers are crossed that everybody will have to adhere to those regulations, and it's not just the new models that are built. And then there's, go ahead.
Sometimes I would feel like, a lot of people say super high level stuff like, oh, climate change, but they only have those words that keep looping. For example, like, every time when I see those types of people, they are raising awareness versus, for example, when you talk to subject matter experts such as Elon Musk, like when he talk about things. He really knows things, and he can make impacts. Versus some people trying to create buzzword and going, around the globe and meeting leaders. Yeah, I mean,
Just for the sake of like traveling and
yes,
getting
I feel
to
like that.
some
Yeah,
airline points.
yeah. I mean, I'm not saying those people are something, but because I think right now, because long time ago, the propaganda or like, oh, we need to be patriotic, we need to be da 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 da, those types of like a passionate speeching words. I feel like he is more looping himself and without actually know what's going on and trying to say something that everybody knows. And even though he keep repeating himself just because he probably got some power, so he is trying to raise awareness, but the huge direction or something, he probably doesn't really know things. I think
Yeah. I
those
mean, it
types of,
says,
yeah, go ahead.
no, I was just going to say, I mean, you're spot on that it's like when whoever is, let's see, the article was written by Brian Fung that, he even says the Senate may still be a very long way off from unveiling a comprehensive proposal. Schumer predicted that the process is likely to take longer than weeks, but shorter than years, which is like, we are going to do something. And that is what we're going to tell you, is that we are going to do something. And then he says months would be a proper timeline, but how many? So,
Yeah.
it's
So
it is
that's
like what
why
you said, which is he was propped up to make an official statement, but who knows where we are in the actual timeline of things.
I think that's why Elon Musk wants to fire a lot of managers or high level executives. Probably someone more like this types of person. I mean, it's great that he has awareness, but it just makes me feel like, okay, so you pretty much loop yourself and you don't have any plans, right? And for example, if this person is writing for Elon Musk, right? I believe even you can say much more than him regarding to the security issue. And yeah, I don't want to say anything, but I mean, it's great that those people with powers, they are aware of this. But I do think it's just I remember I read Elon Musk's book. He said that when he bought two used book from the bookstore about how to construct rocket, right? And he kind of hands-on and asked NASA, not as SpaceX early engineer to create the actual things. It's kind of like the budget is super low. And he just said, make it happen. I believe you can make it happen. And with that little budget, and they create the entire thing, that thing, and shoot to the sky. And for NASA, it seems like they spend like, I don't know, at least a few $100K or $1 million just for meeting.
Yeah.
Just meeting, gathering together, brainstorming, right? So I do think that those types of people are more for the old time, because all time that people are looking for the status, looking for the power. So when they say, oh, we need to be aware of something, and because during that time, probably not many people receive high education. So we feel like, wow, hero, you are the hero. You are going to, everyone is want you to do something. You are so important. Like, I feel like that is more like a Russian time with Putin, more like types of feeling they are the state hero. But right now, I do kind of feel like maybe I don't know, maybe I'm more practical person. When I see this, I was like, okay, you probably can travel a lot, probably gain personal, meeting with leaders, right?
Status.
Yeah, and also, NASA spend a lot of money just meeting people and nothing produced after, the first astronaut landing to the moon, they did nothing. But SpaceX is happening. Why? Because yeah, I mean, if Elon Musk see this and he will say, give me the plan. What's the plan? How to do it? Right? I feel like it's just the old way of politician is trying to get someone to write an article and probably get some major press, because I'd rather to listen to Sam Altman, Elon Musk, or somebody who really know AI, right? Or somebody, or even someone study in state university and major in AI. I'd rather listen to them than this person. I mean, this person's intention is great, like a connect to the leader, he got the power, but I couldn't see this person go anywhere. I'm sorry, maybe
What
I
I
will get sued or something.
Oh no. And but I think that the reason why that regardless of what our concerns are, or our needs are as citizens, I think it's interesting that, let's see, yeah, right here, the last two pillars of the framework, which is foundations and explainability, are among the most important, as unrestricted artificial intelligence could undermine the electoral process or make it impossible to critically evaluate an AI's claims. So this is hitting where their home is, that it's like, oh, well, if this is going to affect my ability to get reelected, then we should
Yeah,
probably
know
do
it's personal
something.
gain. When I
We should
see this, I feel
probably do
personal.
something, because we cannot have that my seat in Congress cannot be forfeited because
Yeah,
some
I will lose my
random Bobby
job.
Joe, I lose my job
I will
because
lose
some
my
random
job.
Bobby Joe used 11 Labs to do a voiceover of me in a monkey costume. And,
Hmm.
and it swayed my political base.
Hmm.
So it's funny how the politics of those things work.
Yeah, I
And
mean,
I
maybe I was wrong.
no, and I know that he is doing his own AI thing, and I'm really glad that he is, because it will be interesting to see how he handles the like, if he builds in regulations, or if he sets some standards that then we all sort of adhere to, or if he's just like, who knows what he's going to do, but it
Can,
will
can,
be
can,
very interesting,
can we
because
see
it's
his
it's like
background?
removing all of the BS.
Can we see his background? Can we Google his name and see what's his does
This guy,
yeah, this guy. I'm just curious.
yes,
Because whatever he sees seems looping, and yeah, I don't know. I trust Elon Musk, even though I know a lot of people has controversial mixed feelings about him.
Senator Chuck Schumer
Yeah, what's his background?
of New York.
Mm-hmm. Mm. Okay.
Bipartisan
Just
infrastructure,
okay.
following years, game changing, reconnect, nothing, bipartisan nothingness.
Can we go to like a Wikipedia?
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, like the thing is great, and he's old and he seems like a very powerful, which is great. But I just wanna see, yeah, he's probably more like
He's been in
law
Congress for
school.
9,
Law school. Okay.
yeah,
So
Harvard
probably more like
Law,
a law, right? Mm. Okay.
early life and education, early career, Senate, changed numbers twice, on Wall Street. So he's
Law.
law and Wall Street,
Mm.
tapping into the city's top law firms and security houses for campaign donations.
So law, election.
Law and Wall Street.
Mm.
Let's see.
Yeah,
Does he
I
have
just
it? Does it
yeah,
say?
yeah, go ahead.
Well, it's interesting to ask the question, why was he the person who spoke about this? And I
Yeah.
wonder if it's because from a law perspective, he will be, or from the side of his background is in law, I wonder if he looking at it from that light, or if he just happened to be the person that agreed to take a meeting in the discussions, that Congress were having. Let's see.
Yeah, I think the interesting thing right now is that I feel like the centralized power is dissolved. Why? Because you see the law, right? All the people who work for government, they are a little bit far away from the reality. Uh, yeah, and the tech giant, they really know what's going on and they form their thing. And eventually, we are all using technologies, and government is very far behind. And this person is trying to get awareness, but whether he should be the go-to person or not is still kind of like he wants to raise awareness. And since I mean he's kind
Yeah.
of like 72 years old, I think it's kind of like the government spiritual leader. It just strikes me that if he he only knows the law part and he wants to do the AI, and this might, yeah, I mean, yeah, I mean, I just raised the awareness, and when I saw the article, it seems like he the, there's nothing new there, and he just wanna raise awareness, and he will travel right, using takes people's money and travel around and connect, networking, and trying to make things happen.
Yeah, because it doesn't say. Yeah, it doesn't say whether he will be on the panel of experts. He just says that the panel will, which this is actually a good thing, that theoretically, the panel that's going to be doing um this legislation will be composed of experts from the industry, academia, and civil society, with the first sessions taking place in September. And that is actually good to know for all of the people who have been worried, because for up to this point, it's only been government politicians working with the CEOs. Like, there's not been anybody to the table that's in academia, research, the civil society. If this is like effectively saying the people who are looking into the what's right and wrong and the morality of systems. And so hopefully this is a nod to say that it's not going to be a closed door, and it's not going to just be politicians and the heads of these major companies making these decisions, because that is the fastest way to have something burn right to the ground. But it doesn't say whether or not he would be a part of this. The Senate will turn to the committee chairs and other vocal lawmakers on the AI legislation.
Interesting. I don't know. For me, I would, if this includes, for example, like Meta, Mark Zuckerberg, or Elon Musk, because those are the people who actually the core for this, the propeller, right? And if it feels like there are a lot of people with good heart, but no decision making to change the world, and you make it feels like I don't know. I just feel like, okay, so you have a lot of people like raise the flag, hey, parade. But actually, we do, for example, beans or llama or all those stuff. Everyone is using it, and it feels disconnected for all those charity types of things and raise awareness versus doing the actual things. This is just what I'm thinking. It's just it is more like, hey, we need to aware of climate change and we have parade, but we're still doing the same things we used to be. And
Yeah, absolutely.
some thought.
Absolutely.
Yeah. But it's great. Yeah.
So these last articles we'll just discuss them really quickly. These are a couple of different instances of how ChatGPT and how AI models are being used. This one, it's not a great website, or the text doesn't come up very well. Sometimes they don't on my computer for some reason, but this is from Science Daily. I won't go into the whole article, but it is interesting that researchers decided that they were going to use ChatGPT to create a robot. Can ChatGPT design a functioning robot? And is this a good thing for the design process? And are there risks? So that's what this article is about. And I love this because I know, Dom, that you have explored this exact thing in some of your tutorials. Like, can you use ChatGPT code? Can you use ChatGPT to all of the things? And interestingly, no surprise, that they used them in a very similar way to how you had used them, which is, it's great for brainstorming. It's great for helpful suggestions. It's great, as like as a helpful research assistant to be able to ask questions and just get an immediate answer. But of course, this risk of misinformation is ultimately the moral of the story, which is that they hallucinate and, they create, they will give you answers that are just like majestically wrong. Like, no, not even just a little bit right. So, let's see. Ultimately, the feature of large language models can be used to assist robot developers without limiting creativity and innovation needed for robotics. And I think that, what would you say that would be your thought on that as well, is that that ChatGPT is not going to be the builder of robots. It's going to be the thing that continues to assist those people who build robots, or those people who write code to build games. That it just doesn't have the capacity right now to handle something from start to finish. Would you agree that that's where you see things right now?
Oh, I think only right now, but I don't know. After a month, maybe
Today, tomorrow, yeah.
Tomorrow, Figma becomes a development tools.
Right.
It's just like yesterday or 2 days ago, it becomes. I feel like now maybe we are just a baby steps and see all those happens. And I saw ChatGPT is a good way to. You see, right now we use the language model to generate all the before it was more conversation, now becomes pictures, and later on becomes a design. And 3D models is pretty soon coming up.
Yeah, right on the horizon.
Yeah, and I saw like a robot pets, right? And they can learn the environment. So right now ChatGPT is assisting us. And if we feed the data, I remember I saw some news, but it's rumor. Seems like somebody in Google and was shocked or revealed how crazy that the AI start growing and they talk to each other.
Yeah.
Something like that, like a really sci-fi stuff, and he got fired, right? So and I do agree with you before, you mentioned, if we feed AI some bias, then AI will relearn those bias. For example, like I listened to TED Talk. There was a woman. She said that she used, when she sent out resume, because a lot of companies they use AI to filter our resume. So because those AI was feed by the entire company's data, and that company, the majority of engineer are men. So when AI screening the qualification for the next step, so if it scans that, oh, it's a woman, right? And if it scans, oh, this is a minority woman, maybe, oh, according to the data, my learning is like 90% are men, right? So it's probably, he said he sent one resume with her real name and just name, first name, last name, and also, I don't know, her picture or something on the resume. And he didn't get any feedback, right? and he got an email which questioned why she thinks she has the ability to apply this job, something like that with that. And later on, she changed her
Oh my
first
God.
name and make a kind of like more like male like, and the last name feels more like American types of normal last name. And then she sent out resume because she got like a PhD AI degree or a lot of engineer degree. And, she got the next step. It just changed the name and everything's the same. And she got passed.
That's
So
crazy.
she's worried about
Absolutely crazy.
Yeah. So think about that. A lot of times when we,
Yeah, because I mean, it's been, go ahead.
yeah, if this is our current AI system and just filter out for the next step, then how scary it is when AI becomes a physical person or beings. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and it's so terrifying. It's just a follow-up to what you're saying, because there has been so much traction forward that what women, you are seeing women in the tech industry, you are seeing women in some of these very male dominated worlds, and it's very, very hard to get in. But that there, if you, and I do have a bias because I think that I know some good people. And so when I talk to these people that I know, they're like, we love having women on our team, give a perspective. They think about things differently. They just bring a different dynamic. We love having women in that we get to work with, and not from having nothing to do with like, oh, you're eye candy. Like, it really, over and over, I hear this, that there are a lot of people who like working with an equal amount of men and women on a team. But that has not been the case. Like, even that's like within the last, I don't know, what would you say, like 5 to 8 years, maybe, that you've seen more and more people being like, yeah, like, great, we're having both men and women here. And it's still, that's a very small subset. There's way more teams that are still very male dominated. So I don't want anybody to think that I'm like, oh yeah, we've made it and everything's great. But that the data that the AI would have been fed would have been from like all of it, like all of existence up through now, and only a very, very small amount of time have there been like so many studies done saying, yeah, teams do so much better when you have all of these different voices. And I mean, even something, I forget where I read it, but it was like, even as something as simple as having somebody who's left-handed on a team versus right-handed, like all of these differences help to make up a beautiful, more comprehensive, bigger picture of how to create a great, whatever the thing is. But AI would, like, we don't have enough data to skew AI to be like, oh yeah, that's obviously what humanity must think, because it's like this much, it's just a drop in the bucket of all of this other data that's like, yeah, hire the man, wait, all of the things. So that is a very, very real and very scary concern that needs to be addressed. I'm super glad that you brought that up.
Yeah, because when I see this, if everything is fed by AI, then we probably need to make sure that the data we brought in is inclusive enough, if that is related to, filter woman, filter human, right? And the interesting thing is that before, right now, I feel like it's like the AI is selecting me. We are working. It's like they are the gatekeeper now for a lot of things, and they are kind of filter us out.
Yeah. How do you make yourself more like fancy and
and then AI pick you, right?
For an AI. What is the psychology to win over the AI?
Yeah.
That study needs to be done immediately.
Yeah. So yeah, I do think that yeah, like Figma becomes a development tool friendly. That is I would say because we can slowly feel that Figma is slowly kind of like having, because you see like there's a tab which is more website, and when you tap it and it becomes a code, but it's more web based. Now it becomes, Swift, a lot of like Visual Studio Code types of things, and also generative AI and all these things. So I start feeling the entire world is conversion, that creativities, code, they are not separate, they are together. And AI, business, all those interesting stuff, everything merged together. And yeah, how can we kind of reposition ourselves to this world? And then yeah, see.
Even
Go ahead.
even Adobe is all their programs are now very heavily influenced with AI technology. So for those designers like myself using, this is going to show my age, I have been using I have been using the Adobe suite since 2003. That is how long I have used this program.
Same
So like officially more than 20 years that I have been using this program. And as a designer, I'm like, oh, it's fine. I know how to use Adobe. I don't need to use anything else. And even now it's like, nope, sorry. You're gonna be, I mean, obviously I am like fully embracing the AI and the coding and all of the things. I have been converted. And for all of those designers who haven't converted yet, please do, because it's worth it. That's my plug. But even if you wanted to just be I do 2D design, or I just do the front end design, whatever that means. I don't mess with anything else. It's like, too bad, because now you have AI, and if you really want to start customizing things, then you need to know how to use some code to be able to really make that better. So I'm very excited to see where this happens, and I'm very excited to see some of the stubborn designers. I hope that you get pulled forward.
Yeah.
You can do it, I promise.
Yeah, I think right now all the development tools are getting easier and easier. So definitely a lot of things can yeah, give me a sec. Hello? Hello? Oh yeah, my internet jumped to another weird things. Oh, okay. Oh, okay, great. Yeah, my internet is really weird. It's just automatically jumped to a really weak signal, and I just turned back. Okay, so
Do you want to take over and screen share, since I stopped sharing the screens to help your?
Yes. Give me a sec. I think now it just goes back.
I'll stop my video to help the.
Okay. Share my screen. And I can tell you there are a lot of things that's still rotating. Maybe I have to kind of refresh it. Okay, great. It's coming back. Okay, so the first one, maybe we can start with the one that is already loaded. FigCon just happening a few days ago, and then Figma has FigCon 2023. Figma announced some interesting developer tools to help designers and dev get along better, at least. I do think this is a great invention, because a long time ago, I just like Jacqueline, I've been doing this for at least 13 years. And when I remember my graduation show, everybody was having, poster, business card, identity system. Identity system, what's that? It's very similar to what Figma's doing, that, oh, what's the color? What's, when you put on Figma, it's sometimes you can click there's another tab and you can see a lot of information like, oh, what's the distance between this element and that element? And we need to put like a lookup, right? A lot of interesting, I would say, interesting ways to at least understand all this element, where it should be positioned, and we need to post like, oh, how many pixels distance from this element as a lookup. But I find out that, yeah, whatever we graduate with, whatever we have the ability, because long time ago, developers need to understand all this by a PDF document. So they will read that document and kind of comp the entire website or the thing. But now there's no need of branding identity system, or there's no need of that PDF file, nice book. Because Jacqueline, if you remember that we have like it's a mandatory that you need a identity book, right?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So
100%.
those, yeah, and like pixel between something. But right now, if you see this, I mean, this is not, yeah, this feels like, wow, not only you can do everything that we thought we need to do manually, and we were proud of ourselves that
The critical eye.
yeah, the critical eyes, but
Yeah.
this becomes kind of like, wow, this, yeah, you just put everything inside Figma, right? And you can pretty much mark the side. Okay, so for example, like you can use all those interesting tools, and it will turn to a website. So if you see this, yeah, okay. Yeah, it starts integrates with the, yeah, before you can do the CS box model. Now Figma, you can have another inspect files for Visual Studio Code, which is pretty cool. Yeah, Visual Studio
Unbelievably
Code.
helpful to just
Yeah.
have, because, and the one thing to really point out of how important that is that you also have all sorts of now ways to be able to incorporate ChatGPT into Visual Studio. So if you don't know how to code, or you're not the best at it, you have the editor right there, and you have a best friend who's non-judgmental, who's helping you
Yeah.
write the code to be able to do all of this stuff. So you don't have to, I mean, you still have to know what you're doing. Like, I will always say, take some classes. It's so worth your time to really understand the foundations, because like, we've said a million times, the AI hallucinates and it will give you wrong information. So if you should be able to recognize flags like, oh, this is not good code. But man, does it take the just daunting task of how do I do this simple thing when you have an AI to just be like, oh yeah, this is right here, how you do it. Here's an example, or here, try this.
Yeah, so I totally agree. And you see, like for Figma right now, they said that 30% of their weekly active users at Figma already developers. So this is a very nice shift for Figma to incorporate more like coding skills. So I can see Figma becomes the ultimate, and I can see, if you see this one, right? Very similar to ChatGPT's thing. You type what you want, right? And later on, it will generate the screen. And later on, you can tap to prototype, and it's already linked for you. So, for example, you describe an app that has a navigation bar with a camera icon, photos, title, and a message icon. So later on, I will share with you another article which is telling, kind of like give you some hint of how to be a good prompt. Maybe in the
Prompt
future,
engineer.
yeah. Engineer sounds like someone who know how to code, right? But prompt engineering is probably just like this.
Just talking. Yes.
just talking, and
Yep.
pseudocode, right? Pseudocode,
Yep.
like give you the human description code, and something will fully functions. Imagine this, and maybe later on you can put iOS or Android, and this will be fully functions and ready to export as an app.
Oh, crazy.
Yeah, so this is right now like this, right? Wow. Yeah, so right now this is like a Figma. So if you go to Figma's website, and they kind of like share how design tool work better for developers, and dev mode for Figma's is absolutely, if you see this, right? For example, like, yeah, developers, designers, and they join in, and you can see like different types of things, right? And you can browse and maybe, yeah, and see this, right? Edit this, go here, and you see it's already the dev mode and CSS sweep UI, right? It's already coded for you, and you can plug into other dev stuff, right? And tell, hey, this is already kind of like an sync up with all the, for example, like Jira, more development, project manager tools. So it feels like all in one, get code faster. And then, yeah, it's too fast that, yeah, you see all this stuff long time ago, we have to manually measure. But if you tackle between design and development mode,
This is so silly, but even the corner radius and like getting like making sure that the corner radiuses are the same across everything. Something so simple, or like the spacing, like when you don't have to worry about those silly little things, especially, in, let's say, 1995, when every website looked drastically different, or like 1999, where you had like some people had squares. If you like right where this is highlighted, so the corner radius, for those who don't understand, is that where this is, it says discover in the top left. Instead of it being a square, it's rounded right here instead of being perfectly square. And that has been something, that aesthetic is something that so many people have adopted, that now it's almost weird to see something with a truly square corner, but in like 1999, you would have a sea of just vastly different websites, and everybody was trying to make everything just as different as they could possibly be, with terrible GIF firework explosions and all of it. And now you see that the design is, it's sort of become homogenous, like we all kind of are striving to have this same aesthetic. You still have a lot of creative freedom, but something as simple as the corner radius, or like nice looking padding, as opposed to having the word discover has an equal amount of white space on the top and the bottom. And that's also sort of something that's become just a standard. Like, that's a good practice, is that you have equal padding, as opposed to having to reinvent everything. And it's little time savers like that it's like, you don't have to have creative control over everything. This gives you the opportunity to exert creative control where it's really needed, and like streamlines so many other things. You just don't have to think about it. You don't have to worry about it. It's so nice.
Yeah, and you see all the plugin stuff, right? And for example, GitHub. Yeah, GitHub. It was meant for more like development tools, version control. But yeah, Figma it's start from design tools to creators tools. I can see a lot of things start merging, right? For example, like Unity start doing more like a friend, even though it's not really friendly, but they are trying to be friendly for designer. And then design tools are trying to be friendly for developers. I can see those merges. And for designers right now, I can tell you all the junior designers that I know, they know code. They are coding. Yeah. So I can see the merge, and the young generations, I feel, wow,
Not to scare anyone.
Yeah,
But,
I feel really proud.
But just be warned. Friendly, loving warnings.
Yeah, yeah, it's really cool. You see, like you can do all this, right? And if you tag, oh, this is the, if you click this and you can see the development mode and you see all the numbers is here. You don't need a book long time ago, 10 years ago. You don't need a book for people to read this. You just use Figma and it tells everything. You see, like if you have a kind of HTML icon, it's all development, right? Ready for development. So if on the board, you can toggle between design mode and develop mode, which is, I think is very cool. Because recently I saw all the Figma files. They have like two modes. Yeah, you see, you can even code there.
It's so
So
crazy.
yeah, so wow, this is super powerful, and you can toggle between Microsoft system and also Apple system, right?
That's really nice.
Yeah,
I'm
so
just now learning how to code in Swift,
yeah,
and it is nice to be able to toggle back and forth because one of I as much as I use Apple products, I didn't necessarily want to focus my time on initially learning Apple because it's like Apple is Apple and Windows is Windows and like ne'er the two shall meet. And now you're seeing even crossover in that. Like, Apple can host certain things that are on Windows if put the right plugins in and vice versa. And so even having that like explicitly, hey, this is for if you're developing in Windows, this is if you're developing on a Apple platform. That's so helpful.
yeah, yeah, and I really like Unity. Why? Because when you develop it and you can export to all the different device. For example, Vision Pro has another plugin in Unity. If you kind of become the in waiting list, uh, I received an email. It seems like it's coming soon, and yeah, it's just Unity will kind of you can pretty much develop AR stuff and export to your Quest Pro, Magic Leap, or HoloLens 2, or the Vision Pro. So yeah, this is a pretty cool things. And okay, so this is Figma. Figma has a lot of cool stuff. If you use Figma every day, you will start seeing all those interesting stuff that before you need to kind of helping developers to understand what you are trying to develop. But now developer will be able to dive into your file and start working on things without you need to talk to the developer. Yeah, kind of sync with the developer, which is super cool. The other thing is that Vision Pro has a lot of news. For example, like you can pretty much start using Vision Pro's plugin. Software SDK enables developers community. So you can start using the Vision Pro's like simulation and start doing some simple click through. So for example, like Xcode, Swift UI, Reality Kit, AR Kit, TestFlight, and you can start building everything. Yeah, for that. Yeah, and Vision Pro. I mean, the complete. Yeah, it's like they have a lot of cool framework that you can just slot in, swap like new assets, which is cool, and also something very similar to MRTK kind of framework. I can see some MRTK's framework is here, and also you can add some interesting animations or some AR solutions for this, right? So if you go to developer.apple.com, yeah, and you will see like, for example, like what's new for this, right? Swift, all this interesting plugin, and Vision Pro, right? Vision Pro, and they start. I really like Apple's way of doing things. Not only they have a simple kind of documentation for developers, but they take take care of designers. So see, like define roles, windows, volumes, space, and all the other interesting things. Yeah, you can download, for example, like this one, and you can have Vision OS SDK. And yeah, and they partner with Unity. Unity will release the plugin pretty soon. Yeah, so this is something very cool. And for example, like you can definitely go here, right? Developers using this one. And I think on my LinkedIn, I post a lot of uh, uh, things. Let me find my LinkedIn. My LinkedIn is like my notebook to storage all the cool stuff that I see. Okay, so let's see. Mm, oh, Figma. I think this one. Oh, not really. Okay. Oh, this one. Let me see. Oh, in-person developer lab launch next month. Yeah. So yeah. So it's very cool to see like a lot of like tools is available right now. And I remember I saw somebody who post you can do maybe something like this Vision Pro simulator. So you can pretty much simulate your Vision Pro in a 2D mode. You see it's a mouse, right? And there's a package. You can definitely use it. Let's see. Oh, okay. So this is the design Figma file. And remember, we just saw that you can dive into my LinkedIn post. You see all the component. Before I was trying to simulate those icons, right? Those buttons, figure out what's the systems. But now it's all there. You see all the panels. You don't even need to design, you just grab. It's very convenient for developer, because developer needs this. Yeah. So yeah, and this is the other one. And documentation. Yeah, so this one is very good because, I think this is really good for the designer. And if you have time, just dive in, and Apple very well document everything for you. For example, like all this, if you want to see the spatial layout, they did everything for you. Yeah, play. See, yeah. So for example, like what's the distance, right? And then maybe angle view. How can you see the different angle? I think Meta is doing the same thing as Apple. Ever since they released the document, I can see Quest Pro. There are a lot of things that is kind of learning from it. So you can see a lot of things. And I think XR, the reason why XR is, or spatial computing is slowly involved, because there is no kind of like a standard rules for all the things. But I think Apple become the pioneer to kind of make all this happening.
I was just thinking that if there is a standard that we could all go off of, why not Apple? Because
Yeah.
they always have the most beautiful, well thought out layouts, but also the fact that they took the time to really understand, even something as simple as Dom, what you were just looking at, where if somebody is looking at it sitting just with their feet on the ground versus if their head is tilting up, that is a consideration. And so the fact that they have a little bullet point for you to read about those specific considerations, it just makes you, it's taking a lot of that I don't know if it's like guesswork, but it's kind of like the wild, wild west where you don't necessarily know what direction to go because there's so many things to consider. And there will of course be a million other things that Apple did not put in this manual that you still, will find out on your own as you're designing for these spaces. but it looks like they have done a very good comprehensive job in making designers think through some of the most critical things to make sure that your designs are moving forward in the best way possible, or give your design a good chance of success, as opposed to before you're just like, well, I hope that I'm doing this correctly. Oh crap, I forgot to do, like auditory cues, like I want the person to go right, but like all the sound is coming from the left and they didn't think about that,
Yeah. So you see, they are doing best practice.
Mhm.
And I can tell you, at Meta, they were considering those things, but they are not putting everything document together. Because if you see Meta's Quest documentation. Okay. This is more for developer. So, I mean, Oculus has been for about 10 years.
But 2013 or 14, something around there.
Yeah. And if you see this, they don't really have a best practice, right? Yeah, it's all developer driven. Yeah. Yeah. You see, start with Unity. So that's why I would say that Apple has different ways to do things, because Apple is from experience. You see, Microsoft, when Microsoft has the really developer center types of interface design, Apple do the more designer or user experience driven. And if you can see, Meta is more Android version of the headset. And yeah, I can see, and they are doing more like sales, right? Oh, $500 versus 3,500, right? So I can see start from Android phone, iOS phone, Apple's phone to Quest headset and Apple headset. I can see
Where the price difference comes in.
Yeah, right. So yeah, I mean, those are the interesting part, and I really want to share with you the I remember there's a simulation, prepare your apps. Oh yeah, so there are a lot of interesting stuff that we can all learn from Apple's website, and also all this newsrooms, and I believe there will be more. Yeah, so those are the interesting part that
Especially
found. Yeah.
once that headset is officially on sale, I imagine that we're going to see a lot of stuff coming out from that. I'm very
Yeah.
excited about it.
Yeah. And
Did you decide if you're going to get one?
It's
hard to say. They're so expensive.
I think, yeah, I think I should need to have one. And I am looking for more projects to work on, earn more money to just get one.
Apply. If anybody knows a grant that gets you a Apple headset, pass it on.
Yeah, right.
It will be applied for.
Yeah, and I do think that the headset will really change the interaction. And since you see the way Apple document versus Meta document, you can tell the difference of how it can be. And this is really creator friendly. And I do predict all the designers will be, everybody will start merge together, becomes design and developer. Everyone, like developer, has to do some design, since you see design becomes so simple, right? You just type the prompt and it will show up. And developer becomes simple because on the software, once you finish the design, the code will generate. So yeah, I can see those two merges. And Unity, I remember at GDC or some events, people start blaming about Unity. hey, why everything becomes so cool, so many amazing stuff, why Unity, you still stay there, right? Yeah. But I believe Unity has a lot of cool AI generated stuff. And then slowly all those stuff merges. And I can see everybody can operate as independent person. And maybe we don't, I do think that we do need to become a holistic person. And maybe in the future, we got universal basic income and everybody do something that satisfy themselves and maybe
That
those
what speaks to their soul.
yes, and we can probably doesn't really need to limit it to earth. We can go out of space and everybody occupy a planet, right? And everyone will be the king or queen that planet, and there will be AI little fellows and to harvest the planet, or I don't know.
For
Yeah, we don't.
anybody who read Le Petit Prince or the Little Prince, that's what I'm thinking of. Dom, I don't know if you read that book. It's a little
Yeah.
where like me, I want to be on the planet where the little prince discovers the flower. Like that's the planet I'm claiming. No one else can have it.
Yeah, right. So
That's
maybe,
mine.
yeah, maybe we can. That's why I feel like the advanced civilization for aliens, they are going out colonize other place because it's too, like, they don't need too many human or aliens inside their original planet.
Oh yeah, when you see aliens, you only see like one, maybe two. You don't see 1,000 of them because
Yeah,
one alien can do all of the things because the data is so streamlined.
yeah, maybe we can connect to the entire humanities, right? And one of us can represent the entire wisdoms of the humanities, and only one can occupy the other, low civilization place and conquer it, and people treat you like their new god, right? I don't know.
Yeah.
It's just like something
This is
outside.
oh, go ahead.
Yeah, maybe we don't really need so many of us crammed together. Maybe we can.
I have heard that this is the era or the age of the solo. What is the official word? Like solopreneur, solo entrepreneur. Like because of all of the tools that we currently and that we will have access to, is that just like Don was saying, like wherever you are, whoever you are, whoever is listening, like you can make your dreams come true because the technology is here. Like it's not in the future. It's not, 10 years or 15 years away. Like you have the ability to easily and successfully make these really complex, intricate, beautiful projects because again, as Dom is saying, so many things are converging and it's absolutely worth exploring. If you're a designer who is not about the coding life, it's worth exploring. If you're a heads down coder that's like grumble, grumble, grumble. I specifically have one of my friends in mind who is, I'm thinking of him like a grumble, grumble, grumble. I don't need to make it beautiful. You can make it beautiful. It's not going to take away from your project if you also allow your project to be beautiful. Like it could be really well coded and beautiful. Very
Yes. And usually, the interesting thing is that a lot of people think, oh, starting entrepreneurship is hard, right? Like a long time ago, because, you need to code from scratch, you need to learn a new language. But I feel like, hey, with this tools, you probably can launch your ideas in a week. You can launch an app. You see, you just type some prompts and think about Figma. Right now, it's already that powerful. And how about a month later? Maybe everything AI generate, right? There's no Lauren Ibsen. Remember, we need to fill out. Now it's AI generated according to the topic it studies, and it will put the right content.
Yep.
Oh, because I saw one of the plugin that Figma had. It says like no Lauren Ibsen. It's real content generated.
So funny.
Yeah.
I'm just
So yeah.
I'm just thinking back and I think one of my very first things that I tried to do was Dreamweaver in
Oh
like I think I took it in 2004 and it was just so like bulky and clunky
Yeah,
and
yeah,
awful.
Dreamweaver. And everybody said that, hey, Dreamweaver is the best because you don't need
Yes,
to
it is the thing
code.
of the future. This is
Yeah.
this is
And
what makes
Flash, right? Did you do Flash?
yeah,
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 Flash.
absolutely.
And you need to code, right? Oh, this is like a, oh, yeah, like, you know, you need to code and make it loop, right?
Mhm.
And
Yeah.
now,
And
yeah,
now it's just like I want a website that I think what was it? What was OpenAI's or yeah, it was
yes.
ChatGPT's
So
example.
someone
I
draw
want a
something.
website that tells dad jokes and it just does it. Like it even creates a joke for you. It's just like it's wild. It is
Yeah.
wild and exciting to think about all of the things that you can do now that you have these tools that are available and they're relatively low cost, all things considered. I mean,
Yeah.
if you think about
25 per month
yeah,
for a
$25 per month
professional assistant.
versus, you know, if you think about something like the those CAD programs can be hundreds of dollars per month
Yeah.
and you still have to know how to use them.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. So I feel exciting. And every week we see something different and we see something dramatically changes. This week is Figma, right? Last week was Vision Pro or 2 weeks ago. And what's next week, right? And Quest 3 is about to launch, right? I'm very excited. And I see a lot of things that happens in the Quest system that kind of start learning from Apple, which I feel happy because yeah, everything becomes easier and easy to use. And yeah, what's next week? Next week we'll have new surprise for us. And then wow, yeah. Yeah, I don't mind that the government or big companies send me free money and do something. Then I'm
Yes.
happy.
If anybody wants to send some
Yeah, free money
money for
or
research.
juggling. Yeah, we are open our account to accept free money and some interesting things to share with everyone. I think that's cool. Cool, awesome. Yeah, thank you so much. And hopefully see you next week. Bye bye.
Bye.